All right, so episode 1 of the Justin Love Life, and just to give you an idea, what I expect and what I really want for this this podcast is to be just what's in the title there, not just for you to experience my life, but for you to love your own life. And I think that's something that's missing in a lot of our lives. We get so busy doing this, different things around just in life in general, or we have, I guess I should say, different responsibilities, whether that's financial, whether that's in your family, that kind of deter you and distract you from enjoying every day. And what I'm hoping to accomplish is giving you stuff that I've learned in my life that have helped me to enjoy life, and honestly talking to myself and a lot of this stuff too. So of course, as you know, we got Cordae coming up here in just a few minutes, but what I want to share with you real quick before that is something I've seen in my own personal life that has really robbed people of enjoying life and loving life itself. And that enemy is called guilt and shame. And a lot of people, I think, deal with guilt and shame in different ways. And I feel like, especially, I'm recording this now during the holiday season in 2020, and a lot of people feel really alone and they feel sad. I've been there before, lonely during a time where people are supposed to gather with family and loved ones, and maybe you're, it doesn't really matter what situation you're in. You could be married and have tons of kids and feel alone. You could be not married and just on your own and doing your own thing and still feel alone. So what I want to share with you is some of the things that have helped me to not live in a place of sorrow and a place of sadness. And I feel like guilt and shame really thrive in that place of feeling alone and in a place of loneliness. I was talking to one of my relatives the other day about something. They feel really guilty and feel a lot of shame about something they did almost 30 years ago. Now, the truth is that thing they did 30 years ago has had repercussions that have affected us since then, right? But what I told this relative is, there's no reason why you should continue to live in guilt and shame and be a prisoner to shame and be bullied and punked, if you will, by shame and by guilt. It's something that it's a mistake that you made. You acknowledge your mistake. You ask those who were affected to forgive you. They have, and it's time to move on. But let's be honest, even if they don't forgive you, you still owe it to yourself, and you owe it to the rest of us to forgive yourself. Because honestly, if you live in a place of guilt and shame, we're not getting the real you, and you're robbing us, the people that love you and care about you, of you, because we want to be able to experience the fullness of you as a person and you as an individual. And when you're living in this jail, this prison of guilt and shame, then you can't do so. And what I told this person is, I said, you've asked people to forgive you, right? Right. Okay. So now that you did your part, for any person to have the nerve to make you suffer and to make you live in this, again, prison of guilt and shame, and to burden you down and to make you feel you're less than, or you're not as good as, or you're not, or you should be punished and you should serve time in mental and emotional prison because of a mistake you made is not right. No person has the right to make you feel a certain way because you made a mistake. Because let's be honest, everybody makes mistakes. Now, there are different repercussions and different results from mistakes, of course, right? I'm not talking about the kind of mistakes where, let's just be honest, like if you kill somebody, yeah, you should serve jail time. Absolutely. But so we're not talking about those kind of mistakes. We're talking about mistakes that, people make. It's human. To err is human, right? But what I told this person, I said, no human being has the right to cause you and to make you live in a life in a world of shame and guilt, and to chain you and burden you down all the rest of the days of your life, because you're human. Humans are human. That's why we're called humans, right? So I just want to encourage you today, because you're gonna make mistakes, and you're gonna feel guilty, and you're gonna feel shame. And guilt and shame initially is not a bad thing, because you think about it, how else do you know that you made a mistake if you don't feel guilt or shame? If you don't feel guilt or shame, like, oh, okay, just keep on moving, right? But let's be honest, we're all gonna make mistakes. And guilt and shame initially is a good thing. But to live in that guilt and shame, I guess you say it like this: feeling guilty is a good thing initially, but living in shame is not, right? So with that guilt and shame, I want to give you 5 keys, 5 love notes, if you will, on how to take your life back from living in guilt and shame. All right. So I got on my notes here. So number 1, I want you to fight back. I want you to take back your life. I want you to fight back, because shame is a bully. Shame is going to try and punk you. Shame is going to try and make you want to live in this place that none of us that love you want you to live in. We want to experience you as a person, you as an individual. And shame is going to try and talk you and convince you into thinking you have to serve out this sentence, if you will, because you messed up. You're going to mess up. It's going to happen. But we that care about you, we that love you, we that want the best for your life, don't want you to live in this prison of shame. We want to get the situation resolved. You ask me to forgive you, or forgive you. I ask you to forgive me, you forgive me. We move on. If you really love me, if you really love a person, you don't want them to live in bondage, right? I mean, why would I want you, if I want you to be free, and I want you to live free and be happy and be joyful, and you contribute to my life and I contribute to yours, why would I want you to live and be punished in a life of punishment? It just doesn't make sense. So number 1, I want you to fight back. I want you to fight back against that bully, that punk, that one that tries to Debo you. I want you to fight back against Debo. I want you to be Ice Cube and hit him back and be like, you got knocked out, right? Okay, so I want you to live. I want you to fight back, number 1. Number 2, I want you to write back. Here's what I mean. I want you to keep a journal, an actual physical journal, whether it's writing down a piece of paper, whether it's maybe typing it up on a Word document or something like that. I want you to write back, and I want you to write down all the things that are good about you. I want you to write down all the positive things that are good about you personally. Now, let's be honest, you might get an emotional and mental state where you can't think of anything that's good about you. All right, so let's talk to some people that know good things about you. There's always somebody in your life. Might only be a handful, but there are people in your life, I guarantee you, that can tell you something good about you. And whatever that is, write that down. Type it up. Keep a digital journal, physical journal, however you want to do it. But write back. And when you actually see with your physical eyes, or you hear with your ears something good about you, that's investing into you as a person. That's seeding you with good about you. And when I say seeding, you know what I mean? Like you drop a seed in, you water the seed, and it produces a harvest, if you will. I want you to seed yourself with the good in you. Number 3, I want you to love back. Here's what I mean by that. I want you to love. You obviously love someone else, right? Well, let's think about this. When you apologize to someone, you ask someone to forgive you. Are you asking them to forgive you because it's going to make you feel better? You got to get this off your chest, and it's a selfish motive? Or are you really apologizing and asking for forgiveness because you have that good initial guilt that instigates and creates an environment where you ask for forgiveness? Because if you're just asking to make yourself feel better, let's be honest. I mean, how freeing is that? You know what I mean? And well, let's be honest again. Maybe you might have to start there. If that's where you got to start, okay, let's start there. But still, love back. Love that person. Ask for forgiveness. And then don't be selfish. Here's what I mean. Don't be selfish, because you can be that person that you love someone, but then you get too selfish. You get too caught up in your own self, where you feel like now life is all about you. Because be honest, because I feel selfishness there's probably some mental instability, might even be some chemical stuff, in your brain. But Love yourself and love the other person. When I studied to be a minister, one of the Bible verses that really always stuck out to me was in the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 30 and verse 6. And it says that David, David from the story of David and Goliath, it says David encouraged himself. And sometimes that's what you have to do. You may have nobody around you to encourage you. And you may have tons of people around you to encourage you, but you're not receptive to their encouragement because you're living in this shame. And stop making life all about you and how you feel. All right. So encourage yourself. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes people are so focused on how they feel that that because you're so engulfed and so encompassed about how you feel, you don't have the mindset to go and reach out and to go and to love someone else. And you can't go love someone else because you're so caught up in your mind and what's going on with you and how you feel and all that kind of stuff. Now, on the other hand, you might know people that are always helping other people and they're not taking care of their own self. They don't care about their own self, so they're going to go help somebody else out. You can't do that either. If you're in a plane, what do they tell you? You got to put the mask on yourself first and then put it on those who need help, right? There's no way that you can legitimately help someone else without helping yourself first. So think about this. You ever heard that phrase where they say you can't love someone until you first love yourself? I think there's truth and not truth to that, right? Because think about it. You can go and help someone else out, but that's really just masking you. And that's just you avoiding you trying to love yourself. So that whole, you can't love someone unless you first love yourself, I don't really believe that. I think that can be just a way to avoid you approaching yourself. So let me go back to you loving back, you loving yourself, you encouraging yourself. I've literally done this before. I have looked myself in the eyeballs there in the mirror and told myself good things about myself. Stuff that I honestly didn't believe in my head, but I wanted it to be real in my heart. So I looked myself in the eyes. I looked myself in the mirror and I told myself, I would talk to myself. I'd say stuff like, Justin, you can do this. Justin, you are strong enough to do this. Justin, you can be a millionaire. Justin, you can succeed in the radio business, those kinds of things. And when you talk to yourself and you look yourself in the eyes, it's kind of weird. It's kind of freaky at first because you're like, I'm talking to myself, and you kind of like psych yourself out. You know what I mean? When you talk to someone and they have way too much eye contact, it's kind of weird. You might weird yourself out at first, but I promise you, it's a very effective technique. Look yourself in the eyes and tell yourself what you want to be. Is that adult that you are now the kid that you always wanted to grow up to be? If not, why not? And I'm telling you, it's not too late for you to become that person you always wanted to be when you were a little kid. Is it going to take work? Of course it's going to take work, but it's never too late to be that person. All right. So number 4. So we said, let's go back. We said, fight back against the bully, write back, and make that journal, make a journal of what the good things are of you. Number 3 is love back. Love yourself, love the person that you've wronged. Number 4 is give back. And that kind of goes back into what we're talking about with number 3, give back. Sometimes we're so caught up, we're so wrapped up in our mind and how we feel and life is all about us and that kind of thing that we don't have the mental capacity to give to someone. So instead of, and see, that's the problem with shame. With shame, you feel like you owe this person or you owe the mistake. You have to like serve your time, if you will. You don't have to serve your time, because if you're over here serving your time in your mental jail, if you will, you're not free to give to someone else. So instead of serving your time and making things better by serving your time, find a way to give to them. How are you giving to them? There's all kinds of ways of giving to them. Think about it. For a time, I would do something where I had a list of people and I would just text them, or I would call them, or I would send them a Facebook message or DM them on Instagram, whatever. And I would just send them an encouraging note, just a random note, just to make their day better, just to be nice. And sometimes you giving back to someone helps you get over yourself, right? But again, don't let that stop you. Don't let that stop you from taking care of yourself. Look after yourself, forgive yourself, But as you're doing that, give to somebody else. I promise you, when you give to someone else, it makes you feel so much better about yourself. Because think about it, you're actually contributing to your life now. You're contributing, you're doing good. And that is one of those things that will help you encourage your own self. Does that make sense? So let's run back. Fight back, write back, love back, give back. And number 5, instead of looking back all the time, let's move forward. You move forward, because there's no reason to sit back here and live in this what you did. What you did is done. There's literally nothing you can do to change it. So instead of giving in to this emotional sadness and depression and all that kind of stuff, find a way. The best way you can make things better is to literally do just that, to move forward and contribute to your life. If you feel like you owe that situation some type of debt, find a way to make it better. You feeling sad, you living in guilt and shame is not going to make the situation better. If you want to find a way to make it better, think, how can I make the situation better? What can I do to contribute to the situation to make it better? And there may not be anything you can do. Maybe the best thing you can do is to ask for forgiveness and all that kind of stuff. And you forgive the person, they forgive you, you move on. So move forward. Don't live back there. Move forward. It's the best thing you can do, right? Let's look at this one more time. I want you to fight back. I want you to write back. I want you to love back. I want you to give back. We've been back. Now I want you to move forward. It's over. Move on. Best thing you can do, forgive yourself. Life is not all about you. When life isn't all about you up here, life won't all be all about you out here. And then you'll be giving to others, and then you'll see what you gave, I promise you, come back to you somehow. I don't know what you believe, but I believe that life really does have a sowing and reaping process where I give, and what I give does come back to me. It doesn't come back to you right away. But when you give not for the purpose of giving something back, but when you give with the purpose and the intent to benefit and to give love and to give to the world, you take your mind off yourself. I remember when I was a little kid, I always wanted a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis, right? And that's all I ever do is think about Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis all the time. And because I thought about that all the time, when Christmas came around, if I didn't get it, I was like, oh, I could get like a TV or some huge present. Because I didn't get a Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo, nothing made it better. So, and then I also didn't have the mindset to give something to my sister or my family or all that kind of stuff, because it was all about me, my Sega Genesis, my Sonic. You know what I mean? So I hope that makes sense. So anyway, but those are, that's just what I want to share with you about what I've learned in my life and how I have moved forward myself. And I'm telling you, when you fight back, life will be so much more interesting. I'll tell you this too. Find something that you can do for yourself that makes you feel empowered. That's one thing I forgot to tell you is make that, when you're fighting back, make that difficult decision. You ever been in a decision sometimes where, okay, let's take food, for example, right? So you pass by, let's say you pass by a Taco Bell, right? And Taco Bell is easy because it's already made for you. You have to do is just pull up, order food, you pay and then move on, right? But if you want healthier food, it takes more effort, right? You have to go to the store, then you have to cook it, and you have to get ingredients, blah, blah, blah. You have to know how to cook. It's so much easier to just pull up, get your food, move on. But the more difficult, the more challenging decision is to put the food together that is more nutritious. Wow, is that a word? It's more nutritious for you, and it's better for you overall. So if I can get food that's going to benefit my body, my mind, my spirit, my soul, all these parts of me, then it's going to be a more difficult, but it's going to be a more beneficial decision. So what I want to encourage you to do is to make the difficult decisions. Make those difficult decisions that are not as convenient. And when you make those decisions that go contrary to what's easy, I promise you fighting against something like shame and you giving into the bully that is shame, you are going to feel so much better and more empowered in your life because you have developed a thought pattern of making not making easy decisions, but making better decisions. So again, I hope that makes sense. All right, so now, so we're going to get into this interview with Cordae. Cordae and I, we talk about him working with Roddy Ricch, talk about him working recently with Stevie Wonder. And he shares with me some interesting insight into what a person like myself, a Caucasian, how I can relate to the struggle that people of color deal with. I mean, I would be lying if I said I knew, because there's no way I can't know. I'm a white guy, you know what I mean? As much as I want to understand, I can't, because it's just impossible. So he shares some really great insight with me about how we can understand, Caucasian people can understand as best we can mentally, if you will, and then what we can do to help. So here is with Cordae. Hope you enjoy.
Cordae, how you doing, sir?
Shit, bro, chilling, trying to stay out the way.
I feel you, man. Me too, man. Hey, first of all, thank you for your time, man, and congratulations on your success. Salute to your hustle, man. I respect those who grind like you grind, man. So
appreciate that.
I read your interview on entrepreneur.com, man, of your I think it's your eight bullet points to success or something like that. So yeah, man, really impressed, man. I like to, when I meet somebody new, man, I like to kind of do a little icebreaker, kind of, you get to know me, you kind of thing. So I play something called one word, right? So I just give you one word, you give me one word back.
Okay, cool.
All right, here we go. Instagram.
Twitter.
Playlist.
Rap.
Hilarious.
Funny.
I like
big butts.
GOAT.
Michael Jordan.
Nice. Annoying.
People.
Food.
Chef.
Nice. Streaming.
Spotify.
Nice. And me. Nice. All right, I like that, man. Hey, man, let's talk about the gifted record with Roddy Ricch. It's a vibe with that record, man. Really like what y'all did on the hook. How y'all did, like, what is it, 4 bars and back and forth kind of thing on the
absolutely.
Hook, man. It's a different structure than what we typically see, in music and everything. And tell me about, how you and Roddy Ricch linked up. How did that collab come to be, man?
We had a music festival.
Uh-huh.
We had a music festival in LA, and then after the music festival, we just both went to the studio.
Oh, okay. Wow. Just like that. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Talk to me about working with Roddy, man. Hey, is this your first time working with him on this record, or have you all worked together in the past, or?
Nah, Roddy is just somebody who I always connected with, like throughout the last 2 years, really. And whenever we just link up, it's always good vibes.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's definitely a nice record. Speaking of great artists that you work with, man, you got to work with a legend recently, Stevie Wonder, bro. That had to be mind blowing. Tell me about working with a legend like that.
Oh man, it was incredible, man. He's just the GOAT, man. They don't make him like Stevie no more, bro.
Yeah, I can imagine just the mentality to be a legend like that and then come put something new out in 2020 when you were doing stuff in the 70s. I thought was crazy, and for him to have the open mindedness to tap someone like you, and even someone like Busta was really a really dope sound, man. Let me jump into what's going on in our society right now, man. Everybody, of course, was talking about your freestyle to open up the 2020 Hip Hop Awards, man. And what I really like about your music, bro, is the fact that in this melodic era of hip hop, you're still you got a lot of bars, man. Like you're still your lyricist, your lyrical content is still very an enriched product.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, it's really dope. And I like your balance of that. Tell me what influenced you to not just, I feel like a lot of artists today have kind of set aside the lyrical content and went for a more melodic, almost like a trendy sound, if you will. What made you, what keeps your balance there?
I'm not sure. It's just more so of just just me staying true to myself and just figuring out, just what I'm best at. You know what I'm saying? And I fuck with the melodic wave as well and that sound, and I experiment with that a lot as well. But I just feel like rapping is just the core of my shit. It's just the essence of what I do,
That's what's up, man. Talk to me about, I want to just kind of dig into the actual lyrics itself. I want to make sure I got this right. Your first, the first thing you said in that freestyle is, what is the purpose of our existence?
Yeah.
Cordae, what's the purpose of your existence, man?
Well, I mean, that's the question. That is the question, right? I'm here to impact and save lives. I'm here to motivate. I'm here to inspire. I'm here to change lives. I'm here to save lives. I'm here to I'm just simply a vessel on earth, man, to do God's work on earth. And
no doubt.
And I'm gonna win a Nobel Peace Prize eventually. That's like one of my ultimate goals.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, no doubt. I love that, man. Let's speak on that piece real quick. My fiance is from Trinidad, and as you see, I'm Caucasian, man. And we've had numerous conversations about what's happened in 2020, of course, with George Floyd, and everything that's happened. If you would, she and I have conversations about me trying to understand the challenge that people of color deal with, that I myself, I comprehend it. You know what I mean? I understand as far as mentally, but to say I can relate, I mean, that would be foolish. Like, there's no way I can't, right?
Yeah.
So how would you, if I asked you, help me understand,
okay,
how would you describe that to someone like myself who wants to know, but can't? You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, one, it's just not a today thing, right? To understand the present, you gotta know the past. So, right. So this is 400 years that's in the working, right? So one, we were stripped from our native land and brought to this foreign land, this country, and our culture was stripped, our language, our religion, all of that was stripped, and we were forced into Christianity. We were forced into speaking English, and our names were stripped, and our whole identity was stripped, right? And our families were separated and sold, being bought, sold, and that sort of traumatic experience and event isn't something that you just take with you when you die. That sort of traumatic experience and event is carried with you throughout generations, to where your great grandkids, us, is still going to feel that experience. And and it's like, even when slavery was finally free, right? The origin of the police force was slave hunters. That was actually the beginning of the police force, were slave hunters. You know what I'm saying? They were slave catchers and members of the KKK. It was a part of the deal with Reconstruction, right? And it's just been a continuous cycle of these things, right? Continuous of us being, and it's around the world. It's not just a US thing. You're even like in a lot of African countries, Great Britain, and numerous other countries, they considered it white man's burden, right? It was their job to help enrich and help these savages, black people, you know what I'm saying, become more well-behaved citizens. You know what I'm saying? So that's that's another aspect of it. So just bringing it back to here in America. So we were, like I said, 400 years ago, when we were brought to this country, and the extreme traumatic experience that we were dealing with throughout the slavery times, and then we were finally free. We weren't really free. We couldn't vote. Originally, when the Constitution was written, in order to vote, you had to be a white man who owned land to vote. You know what I'm saying? And it was that sort of frame of mind thinking of this Constitution that we still live by today, which is extremely outdated. And obviously some things have been amended, but we're still majority living off that Constitution, even with the Electoral College, right? That was formed because the average man, American, in 1776 was stupid, was not educated. So the founding fathers didn't believe that the average American was smart enough to actually decide their leaders. So they're like, okay, we're going to do this, but we're really going to put this Electoral College right here, right?
Right.
And so boom, boom, boom. I say so bringing all of that to today. So like I said, the origin of the police force was slave catcher. So it's been embedded within the police's DNA. They've been taught to be more aggressive towards black and brown people because that's what's embedded within their DNA. You know what I'm saying? They're a slave catcher.
Interesting. Yeah, and, makes sense.
And they're unaware of these things. So it just trickles down to, you know, obviously being disenfranchised as people, being marginalized by society, being second-class citizens, and just, you know, being looked down upon. And it's just a continuous cycle. And things are getting better. I think awareness is the first thing, right? Okay. Conversations is the first thing, and you have to empathize and love, and it all comes back to this word love. It's not a black or white thing. It's love. It's love against hate. You see these countless amount of black people, brown people, people of just minorities in general being killed by the police. You have to empathize with that. You can't just see that and give it a cold shoulder. You have to see that, and that's heartbreaking. That breaks my heart. Even if I seen a white man being killed by the police, you know, I empathize. I'm like, man, that man had a family and children, so it has to just be love. All centered back around this word called love.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing all that, man. And I love the you know, you breaking down the history and everything like that. Let me ask you this: if you could sum it up in 60 seconds, what can I do to help?
One is awareness, right? Become aware, like read, like do the knowledge. I recommend this James Baldwin book I've been reading. Excuse me.
Okay.
This joint I've been reading. The Fire Next Time, right? So so read that. That's a good introduction. Well, actually that's a little more advanced. Have you ever read Wretched of the Earth?
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent book. It's a million books I can recommend, but one is just becoming aware, right? Doing the history. Like I said, to understand the present, you gotta learn the past. You know what I'm saying? Read about, you know, W.E.B. Du Bois, Malcolm X, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, watch Roots. You know, the information is out there. We're literally in the information age, right?
Yeah.
So basically become aware and have open conversations to people who are ignorant to it, and not ignorant as in, oh, you're ignorant, but ignorant as in just not knowing. You know what I'm saying?
Not educated, right?
Just not educated on it. So one, have the knowledge, educate others, have this conversation, and become vocal about this. And if you are passionate, if you do become passionate after doing the research on it, after getting educated on it, have these conversations with different family members, co-workers, and friends. For I had to do that a bunch of times throughout my life, even with other black people. You know what I'm saying? And educate, spread the knowledge, do the awareness, and be vocal in your community about it. Like, you know, vote obviously for your local officials, not just the presidential. Vote for your senators, your local sheriffs, you know,
just being
superintendent. Exactly, just being an active citizen, because we have somebody who's done the knowledge, who is aware of everything that's going on, who's having not only conversations with family, friends, loved ones, co-workers, but who is out here in the community with a voice and to say, that's a powerful motherfucker right there. You know what I'm saying? And that we need more allies like that. So that's what I would personally recommend. But everybody has their own path. I don't have all the answers, but that's just what I personally would recommend, you know?
No, I love that, man. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. No doubt. Let me bring it back to you, man. 2020 and 2020 beyond, what can we expect from Cordae?
Just continuing to make amazing music. Just getting better at my craft. Expanding my brand, and continuing to voice my opinion on whatever I feel, and just everything.
And I think you do that really well, man. So
thank you.
I appreciate you sharing, you know, so eloquently how you shared stuff. If you will, please let us know, how do we connect with you? How do we stay connected with you?
Yeah, follow me. Everything is Cordae, Cordae. That's my first name. Cordae on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, just everything. Cordae.
That's what's up, man. Cordae, thank you for your time, sir. Salute.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Salute.
Continued success. Likewise.
Yes, sir. My G.
Great insight from Cordae. I really appreciated his enthusiasm, his passion, and how insightful and how well he communicated that message. So Just a Love Life podcast is every Sunday at noon Eastern time. And I found a phrase. It's a phrase I like to live by, and I like to leave it with you every time. It's those that entertain are those who have trained, and those who never train are those who will never entertain, man.